Welcome back to the program. Well, it's been just 7 days, believe it or not, since we last checked in with US-based surgeon Dr. Rahul Jandil. There's been lots happening, who's been on the front line fighting COVID-19. But as we know, in times like this, a week can feel like a lifetime, can't it?
And Dr. Jandil says the coronavirus crisis in the US is looking like it did in Italy a month ago. He's now warning Australians time is running out, and he joins us now live from Los Angeles. Good morning to you, Doctor.
Hi, how are you?
Look, we're okay, and more importantly, how are you? Because, I mean, you described the front line there a week ago as a war zone. How have things changed since then?
Well, it's quite a bit different. The hospitals are very disjointed. In Los Angeles, some of the nicer hospitals where Hollywood is at, they're not doing as well as some of the more nimble hospitals. By that, I mean protection, equipment, they call it PPE, but gear for nurses and housekeepers who work in the hospital. Sometimes the smaller hospitals have them. So it's a very heterogeneous and disjointed effort, and there are lessons to be learned from that as well.
Let's talk about those lessons and also medical workers on the front line. I mean, our heart goes out to them. It's a very difficult vocation at the best of times, let alone right now. How are you all doing?
Well, we're struggling because, just to put it plainly, the doctors have resources. We took the Hippocratic Oath. We have life insurance, if you will, because we have the resources, but a lot of the hospital is not doctors, and nurses spend the most time. We come in and we type in orders, and there's people who have to clean the operating rooms. Those people don't have the gear, the cafeteria workers, the security guards. So there's a strange elitism within some of the hospitals where the doctors, the nurses are looking at the doctors like, why do you get that gear and I don't? And there's crazy videos coming out with some of them putting on trash bags. And so there is no simple answer to how we're doing. It varies by hospital in Los Angeles.
See, I remember the thing that stood out to me last week when you were talking is that staff at the hospital on the front line were being told, we've run out of masks, so use bandanas, use whatever you can to protect your faces. And look, I feel we're heading towards a similar situation here. We've already had hospitals saying that they've only got protective gear for another 7 to 10 days. And we're a few weeks behind where you are.
Correct.
I mean, how critical is that to fix as an issue?
So there's two ways to fix that. Get more, get more, get more, of course. The other thing is have people who've been hoarding these masks deliver them back. Have people who are not sick not go to the hospital. We're finding from Italy that the hospitals have become a nidus for infection. So if you're not sick, don't go to the hospital. And now here in Los Angeles, some of the hospitals, they're saying, even if you think you have COVID-19, if you're dealing with it fine and not running out of air, coming to the hospital, there's no use for you because there's no utility for you because we don't have medicines to give you. You're dealing with it on your own. Don't come here and maybe pick up an infection that you don't have. So what you can do over there is, what I would say, a couple of simple steps. Don't go to the hospital unnecessarily. Create a volunteer force that knows surgical technique, because you know, when you open the door from the outside of your home, consider it dirty. When you come in, kick the door shut, wash your hands, then lock the door. So you know the inside is clean. So that's what we do in the operating rooms, and maybe make videos where people can, store clerks and Amazon delivery people can see these techniques and implement them and learn about them before things explode and it becomes difficult to navigate when you're under pressure.
Doctor, just as an overall comment, if you will, we know the President a couple of days ago said he'd like to have business up and running by Easter. Obviously, that's just to try and spur on the markets. But there are some positive signs coming out of New York in terms of the number of people hospitalised. It does, as you so rightly pointed out last week, if you lock down, you reduce the numbers, and there's great evidence of that coming out of New York right now.
Well, that should be inspiring. The original evidence came from Wuhan, China, and people were skeptical about it. But this throbbing infection, this germ, paused for a day or two, and then it took 2 months to slam it down. In New York, it's very vertical. It doesn't have the urban sprawl we do. Just those efforts alone, they're letting us catch our breath. So we're not talking about medicine or vaccines here. What we're talking about is, let's deal with this as humans, as humanity, so we don't overload the hospitals. Listen, cancer patients are not coming in. They're having to deal with that. Cancer guidelines are being changed. That before, when it was surgery, chemotherapy, and radiation, maybe you're better off with just radiation and chemotherapy and maybe not getting the maximum benefit, but not dying from an infection when you come in for surgery. So the national cancer guidelines in America are changing. So I think there's a lot of common sense here that people can implement when you see lessons from Italy and now New York, as well as San Francisco, prominent cities that can inspire people living in Sydney and Australia.
Well, it certainly gives us hope, Doctor, when we see that, you guys are perhaps potentially coming off that peak when we're sort of a couple of weeks behind you. We appreciate your time this morning and all the practical advice. Thanks a lot.